All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Again, welcome. Thank you for tuning in to our first of the 2026 edition of the Legal Lowdown webinar series. This is a series of webinars that we offer to the small business community on topics that we think will be of practical use and interest to you. If you are a small business owner, if you're planning to be in small business, perhaps you provide services or goods or products to the small business industry, and you would like to know how to talk with them a little bit better about what they're doing and bring some value to members of the business community, this is a great place for you to be tuning in on a monthly basis. And we thought that our first topic would be good to kick things off with the annual report that is required to be filed for business entities in Pennsylvania. But before I do that, let me just talk to you a little bit about me. My name is Mike Fiffik. My law firm is Fiffik Law Group. I have been providing services to small business owners for about 32 years, all over the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I've represented, I don't know, just about every type of business I think that there is, from contractors to accountants to medical practices to franchisees of all different kinds, to all different kinds of businesses. I have provided legal services and business consulting to them for many, many years. So I hope that I bring a wealth of experience to the table and talking to you about your business or a business that you are hoping to provide better services to along the way. We have offices on both sides of the state. So in Pittsburgh, and then I have a small office in the North Hills of the city of Pittsburgh, if you're familiar with Pittsburgh. And then we have an office in Radnor in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So we think from those platforms, we can provide services to lots of small business owners across the state. This is the Lowdown webinar series, but we also have a weekly one topic email series called the Lowdown Empowering Your Small Business that we send out each week, typically on Tuesdays. It's about a 5-minute read or less. It just keeps you abreast of things that are going on in the small business world with a legal twist to them. So if you'd like to receive that email, you can use the QR code on your screen to subscribe and receive the small business legal lowdown weekly email. We also have a YouTube channel where we record these sessions, and we have recorded other sessions that we did all last year as well. So feel free to tune in. There's going to be something there that I guarantee that will be helpful to you along the way. So let's move on to our agenda for our topic today about the annual report requirement for businesses that are in Pennsylvania. It's not just Pennsylvania businesses, it's businesses that operate in Pennsylvania. So we'll talk a little bit about what is the annual report and why. Why is this a requirement? What are we doing this for? What's the benefit? Why did the legislature put this in place? When are the critical deadlines and by entity type for this annual report? We'll talk a little bit about some step-by-step filing instructions and tips and tricks to make this a little bit easier for you. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between an annual report and tax returns or other types of filings that businesses may often have to comply with in Pennsylvania. And finally, what happens if you don't file your annual report? What is going to happen to your business? So you need to know that. So what is the annual report? This is a requirement that was enacted. It was effective in 2025. So if you're just finding out about this in 2026, oops, you missed filing in 2025 and you were required to do that for that year. But basically, it's an information of filing to keep the state records about business entities current, right? It's real basic. There are lots of businesses that are registered with the Corporations Bureau here in Pennsylvania, and sometimes they file and never update their records ever again. And that could be a problem for the state because they want to know, is this business actually still in business? Is it still a viable entity? And who are the players? And what is the address in the event somebody needs to communicate with this business or in particular serve legal papers on them? So this is a basic informational filing system requirement to keep the records relatively current that are on the state's website. So it's going to be looking for contact information, information about ownership and officers, registered address, so where you actually can officially receive mail, communications, legal papers, things of that nature. Importantly, it is not a financial disclosure like the financial disclosure regulations that had been rolled out by the federal government, the Department of the Treasury, FinCEN regulations, which were um, put on the back burner, at least during this administration, I suspect. Those may come back at some point in the future, but for now, those FinCEN filing regulations are not required. And those didn't have financial reporting requirements either. But so this isn't a financial disclosure. You're not going to be giving up all of the dollars and cents secrets involving your business in this annual report. It's really just some basic information that the government needs, right? So why are we doing it? Um, why you want to do it, right? It maintains your good standing status for your business. And ultimately, as you'll find out, your ability to continue operating lawfully in Pennsylvania, which of course is important for you if you have a business to operate lawfully, because you want to be able to enter into contracts. You want to get financing. You may want to participate in legal proceedings, either to sue people or to uh, defend your defend claims against your business, right? Ultimately, the failure to file this annual report may limit your company's ability to secure financing or renew licenses if your business relies upon certain licenses, like a liquor license or a health department license, or you're in cosmetology or you're a chiropractor and you have annual renewals for licenses for your business. All of those things are going to be tied in some way, shape, or form to this annual report filing requirement. Now, it also builds transparency, right? It builds trust with lenders, investors, in the public if your information is current. It can also, filing annually for your business says specifically that your business is a business, right? And it isn't just you operating under an alter ego, so to speak. That there is a difference between you and your business. So doing this annual filing is evidence that you have an actual legitimate business out there, and it helps protect your personal assets from folks who might want to file claims against you and your for business related claims. And that it also, very importantly, ensures that you receive official notices, tax documents, things of that nature that you don't want to miss from the Corporations Bureau, the Department of Revenue. You don't want to miss getting some tax notification or tax bill. I have seen those types of things um, hang up transactions, selling real estate, selling the business. There are these, all of a sudden, I'll do some due diligence on behalf of a buyer and realize that there are these tax liens against the business or against the real estate. And the selling business owner says, I had no idea, right? Well, probably they had filed their business 15 years ago and never updated the addresses, and so they didn't get any of this information to know that there were these liens out there. And then it becomes a crisis, and sometimes it can even um, uh, cause the business transaction to crater, to fail, because now this is too much to deal with, too close in time to the closing, or there's too much money that they have to come up with to satisfy these liens, and there's not enough money in the deal to make it worthwhile to continue to do the deal while also dealing with these liens. So, it's really important for business owners to maintain their address. It seems like a real basic 101 simple thing for business owners to do, but this is something that many business owners don't update on a regular basis. All right. So if you've got a business that you've registered with the state in some way, shape, or form, what's the deadline? When do you have to do this kind of stuff? So the deadlines, they don't want to make it easy for you. They want to give you deadlines that are based upon what type of business entity that you have. So if you have a corporation, right? And if you don't know whether you have a corporation or a limited liability or a company, you can search for your business entity on the Corporations Bureau website, and it'll tell you exactly what you have. But if your company name ends in Inc., or incorporated, you have a corporation most likely, and your deadline to file is June 30th. So um, if you didn't file in 2025, you've missed the deadline by 6 months, but you've also got 6 months to make it for 2026. If you have a limited liability company, your deadline is September 30th, and then all other business entities are by the end of the year. And this applies to not just Pennsylvania business entities. It applies to business entities that are formed in some other state, like Delaware or Nevada or Florida, that are registered as foreign business entities with the Corporations Bureau here in Pennsylvania. You also must comply with this annual report. It's not unusual for Pennsylvania business owners to form a business entity in a different state for a variety of reasons, like a Delaware business or a Nevada business or Wyoming LLC or whatever. There are lots of different reasons why they do that, and they think that they only have to comply with the requirements in those states. Well, if you're doing business here and you've registered your business here as a foreign business, meaning a business filed in a different state, you got to comply with this PA annual requirement as well. Okay. Um, Let me take a step back here just one sec. Now, there are reminders that are being sent. Okay. So, if you don't have to remember these deadlines necessarily. Okay. The Corporations Bureau is sending requirements out to business owners. The problem is, if the address that they have for you on record is a bad address, you're probably not going to get the reminder. They're not looking for you out there to try to send it to the correct address. They're using the address that they have on record for you. So if the address on record is a bad address, you're probably not going to get the reminder. And if you miss the deadline and something bad happens because they sent it to an old address, that's on you. That's not going to be on them. That isn't going to be an excuse for non-compliance. All right. What information should you gather before you set about filing your annual report? It's kind of the basic stuff, right? The legal business name, trade name, like doing business as, your PA entity ID, that's different than your tax identification number that the IRS gives you. It's different than your box number or account number with the Department of Revenue. That is a number that is given to you whenever you file your business with the Corporations Bureau. And that entity number is available if you search for your business on the Corporations Bureau. You're going to need your address. So what is your principal office address? Where do you receive mail? It's going to have to be something other than a PO box. It's going to have to be a street address of some kind. It must be current. If you use a registered office provider, that's somebody that you pay to receive official mail on your behalf. Not necessarily a bad idea because that address is likely always to be current, and you're likely to always receive those notices because you're paying them to receive them and get them to you. But that address must be current. So you're going to want to have your current address. And then you'll need some specifics about your business, right? Corporations, who are the shareholders, who are the officers, same thing with LLCs, who are the members of your LLC. That may be different than when you first filed your business entity along the way. So you're going to want to get some basics about who those folks are. So how do you file this PA report? You can do it by mail, right? But we would really highly recommend that you do it online. And the URL for filing online is right there in front of you on the screen. It'll be faster. The data that you need for your your filing is going to be pre-filled data. So it's going to partially fill the form out for you using the information that's available to the Corporations Bureau. And there will hopefully be fewer errors along the way. And I do see that there are a couple of questions in the queue, and I'll be happy to answer those as we get through the entire presentation. Maybe part of my presentation will answer those questions for you. If you're going to do it by mail, I would suggest that you use some type of proof of mail system in place. You could do certified mail if you want. There is also a proof of mailing form. I can't remember what the form number is with the post office, but it's also proof that you actually mailed the document, but doesn't require a signature, on the other end. So step-by-step instructions, you're going to log in to the Business Filing Services portal. If you don't want to copy that URL down, you can just Google PA Business One Stop Hub, and that's going to get you there. If you don't have an account created for your business, you're going to have to go through the process of creating an account to get a username and password. Don't lose it, because you'll have to use it every year and any other time that you want to update your records. But so go to the PA Business One Stop Hub. That's where you're going to find all of this filing, the area to do your filing for your PA annual report. You'll search for your business entity. It's just a name search, just like a Google search. You'll see a link that says to file your annual report, and you're going to review the information that gets pre-filled, update the information as needed, and then you're going to pay the filing fee, which is only $7. Probably will go up in future years, but it's not very expensive to get this done for now. So $7, like I said, for most entities. There are some exemptions for nonprofit corporations or certain non-for-profit business entities along the way, but it's only $7, so it shouldn't be really an impediment. You can pay online with a credit card. You can also mail a check if you're doing this by mail. And again, I don't recommend that, but if you're going to do it, you can mail a check made payable to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So not terribly expensive. All right. Annual report versus a tax return. You might think that if you file a tax return with the Department of Revenue and you have all of your current information on your tax return, that satisfies the need to file this annual report because you've given the state all of your current information. Well, that's not the case, right? The Corporations Bureau and the Department of Revenue don't necessarily talk to one another when it comes to updating your information. So filing your tax returns is not a substitute, and it does not satisfy this annual requirement, right? There's no link um, there's no link between the Corporations Bureau, the annual report section of the Corporations Bureau, and any other state system where you're filing information about your business. So if you have to annually update your liquor license information or some franchise information or contractor license, if you're a home improvement contractor and you're updating your information with the Attorney General's office, there's no links between any of those and the Corporations Bureau where they just grab your information from those filings and update their own records. So filing one of those things does not necessarily it does not fulfill the annual report requirement. It's its own standalone thing that you're going to have to tickle the calendar to do on an annual basis. All right. So if you're bad and you don't file your annual report on time, what are the consequences? So the immediate is that if your company needs a good standing certificate, and that's something that you may not realize is required in certain transactions, but it is. So if you've got a business entity that's buying or selling real estate, that is part of the process that the title company is going to get as a good standing certificate. If you're borrowing money The bank will likely require that you produce a good standing certificate for your business. Maybe there's a license application of some kind. If right now, if you have not filed your annual report and there's a request for good standing certificate, there may be your account may be shown as delinquent, and you may have to file that missing annual report before you're able to get that good standing certificate, or if before you will be considered to have complied sufficiently with whatever the requirement is for the particular transaction. So again, if you didn't file for 2025, you probably should go ahead and go back and do that and update it annually thereafter to make sure that your account is not shown as delinquent. Now, in future, beginning in 2027, so beginning next year, it is possible. This is really when the teeth start to grab, so to speak, right? When the bite comes down on you, you could literally have your business administratively dissolved, right? Where the state effectively cancels your business. It's no longer a thing anymore. It's gone. It's no longer a business entity. If you are a foreign LLC or a corporation registered to do business in Pennsylvania, you could potentially lose your right to operate in Pennsylvania. And then you could also lose your right to use your business name. So what that really means, I'll say that a different way, is that if you have not filed your annual reports in 2027, your business name could be up for grabs for somebody else to form a business under your name. And if they've beaten you to the punch, you're not going to be able to get it back. So that could be a big problem for you. And maybe there will be some people out there that are going to try to reserve names to get the scoop on you. We'll have yet to see what nefarious things people will do out there in order to try to steal business names. But the last thing that you would want to have is some other competitor operating under the exact same name that you thought that you had at one time and stealing all of your goodwill that you have built up in connection with that name. I think that's a very serious consequence for failing to do some simple thing like filing the annual report. Now, if your business is administratively dissolved, and frankly, some businesses should be administratively dissolved because they don't exist anymore for reals, right? They don't exist. There are a lot of businesses out there that don't exist, just like there are a lot of Facebook pages out there that are associated with dead people, right? You should get rid of them, so to speak. So there is a thinning of the ranks that probably should happen somewhere along the way. But for the unsuspecting business owner, and there are going to be many out there, right? There are going to be a lot. Um, your business could go away. You can try to get it reinstated. It is possible, but it's going to be time consuming. There are going to be some costs associated with it. And, it might come at a bad time for you, right? Where you've got something going on where you need to borrow money, you need a good standing certificate, you need to file suit to collect something, you need to assert your rights in some kind of way. And in reality, you can't do those things. And because your business has been dissolved and you miss a deadline of some kind, you just don't want something like that to happen. It's hard to predict how that will play out for a lot of businesses, but why take the risk? You don't want to have a timing issue there because you fail to file a $7 annual report for your business. So some mistakes to avoid along the way. Of course, don't miss the deadline, right? Set your calendar as a reminder a month ahead, 2 weeks ahead, whatever you need not to lose track of it, that you got to file your annual report, right? Make sure that you get rid of outdated addresses. Ensure that your registered office address as filed with the Corporations Bureau can in fact receive mail, right? List, get rid of listing people who are no longer associated with your business whenever you file your annual report. Pay attention to that. Don't pay the wrong fee, obviously. You don't want to send in a paper application and fail to send in the fee or send in the wrong amount. So you're going to have to double check to make sure that the fee didn't increase in 2027, which I'm guessing that it will probably will increase along the way. So you got to pay attention to that. And then you want to make sure that you keep a record of filing your annual report, just in case there is some question that comes up along the way. You'll get a receipt if you do this all online, a confirmation that it's been successfully filed. You're going to want to retain a copy of that for your own records. So just to sum up what we've talked about here, annual reports are mandatory for most PA entities. If you had to file something with the Corporations Bureau in order for your business to be born, then you probably have to file an annual report. Sort of pretty simple. Um, know your deadlines, right? Corporations, June 30th, LLC, September 30th, everybody else by the end of the year, and tickle your calendar. We recommend that you file online for all of the reasons that we've talked about. It's easier. The form gets pre-filled for you, so all you're doing is changing or updating old information, and you get an immediate confirmation that it has been received that you can save for your own future reference. So, after today, what you should do is go on to the Corporations Bureau website, that hub website that I mentioned to you before, and check your entity status to see if you're in good standing. See if you've got an annual report that you failed to file, and you should go ahead and get it filed.